This is a bit of biology with Mr. Rock, and today we are going to be talking about macromolecules again. So this is the second part of the macromolecules video. In the first video, we talked about carbohydrates and lipids, and today we are going to be talking about proteins and nucleic acids. Just to give you a refresher, you might not have heard of the term macromolecule before today or before the previous video, but you do know what these are because you've seen them on the back of your food labels. So three of the main macromolecules that you would know about would be carbohydrates, fats, which are also known as lipids, and proteins. And then the other one is nucleic acids. So today in this video, we're going to talk about the proteins and the nucleic acids. Just some terminology to go over before we start talking about the proteins is, number one, a macromolecule is a complex molecule that is essential for all living organisms. So if you want to be a living organism, you need carbohydrates, you need proteins, you need lipids, you need nucleic acids. And with every macromolecule, there are monomers, which are just small pieces, and these monomers get put together to make a polymer. And I use the analogy from the last video to think about Legos in this way. Monomers are individual pieces and they get put together to make a polymer, which is the end product, which is like the Millennium Falcon or whatever you're building with your Legos. So the monomer is the one piece, the polymer is the huge thing at the end. All these pieces coming together. So let's talk about proteins then. What are actual proteins? If I asked you guys as a class, a lot of people would say, oh, proteins are, it's what I drink or eat to make my muscles big. And we mainly think of proteins and muscles, and those two things kind of go together. And that's fine, and that's a good start. So a protein is a macromolecule with hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and now we see nitrogen for the first time. So lipids and carbs both had carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but now we see nitrogen for the first time. Foods that have them, eggs, beans, seeds, such as like chia seeds, meat. There's a lot of different foods with proteins in them. And in biology, we say that proteins are the building blocks of life because they make up everything of who we are. So like all the pieces that actually make us up typically are made out of proteins. So what are the monomers and what are the polymers for proteins? So the monomer is just the individual piece, and we call the monomers of proteins amino acids. And there's 20 different amino acids. If you ever go to GNC and you're trying to get sold like a protein shake by some meathead looking dude that has way too many tattoos, he will tell you that in his protein shake or in their protein shakes, they have over 10,000 different amino acids. And that's kind of just a silly statement because amino acids is just like, it's protein. So it's just saying that there's just protein in the protein shake. So they're just trying to be scientific. So amino acids are just the monomer, and there's 20 different kinds. And these monomers come together, get stitched together to make a big, huge polymer, and we call the polymer for the proteins a polypeptide. And over here we have a polypeptide chain. So this is an amino acid, this is an amino acid, this is an amino acid, and they all get stitched together to make this huge, big structure that we call proteins or polypeptides. And then I have a picture of the Death Star there, just using the Lego analogy. So, what is the function of proteins besides getting really big and strong and drinking a protein shake for big muscles? Proteins actually do a lot of different things in you. So number one, your immune system, they help you fight diseases. Your immune system is primarily made up of protein. They do help in movement with muscles and just movement in the body in general. So to move around, you do need protein. Number three, I said proteins are like the building blocks of life because your skin, your hair, your nails, your tissue, your cell membranes, so much of what you are actually made of is protein. So there's a huge structural component, and a lot of organisms are made out of protein. polypeptides. And then the last thing here, we're going to talk about this more in the next section, but enzymes, which are used to speed up reactions, are also made up of proteins. So we've got 4 key functions. We're going to be finishing off with nucleic acids. This is probably the one that you don't see on the back of your food label. And this whole entire time during these videos, I've been showing different foods that have carbohydrates in them, like bread, or lipids, like milk, or something like that. With nucleic acids, it is any kind of food that you eat that has DNA in it. So if you eat fruit, if you eat meat, if you eat vegetables, all of that food has DNA in it. So for that reason, most food has nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are a macromolecule. This time we're going to add phosphorus, so they have nitrogen, carbon, phosphorus, oxygen, hydrogen. So they have a lot of elements involved, and nucleic acids are used to carry and store genetic information. So this is like your DNA. So the monomer of nucleic acids would be a nucleotide. That's what we call it, and it's just one piece of the DNA double helix ladder. A kind of cool thing that I think is really cool is with nucleotides, you never make nucleotides. You don't make new nucleotides. You actually take the nucleotides from your food. So you break down the banana in your stomach, and then you take it into your bloodstream, and when you go to make new DNA in your body, you're actually using the DNA from the food that you've eaten. So that's the statement, you are what you eat, is actually kind of true. So I'd always think that's a fun fact. These nucleotides come together, so all these little monomers, these Lego pieces come together to make a polynucleotide, and we call this either DNA or RNA. So the technical name is a polynucleotide, but we can call it DNA or RNA. And there's 2 different types of nucleic acids. So what we have here, I guess I'll just explain the picture first, is, so this is the classic like DNA double helix twisted ladder, and what I just squared right here, this is a nucleotide. So all these nucleotides are coming together to make up DNA. Many pieces coming together to make the huge final product. And DNA has 2 specific functions. Well, I guess I should say nucleic acids have 2 specific functions. The first is DNA stores genetic information. So all of your genetic info is tucked away in your DNA, which is really cool. And then number 2, your RNA, which is another form of nucleic acid, uses the DNA to help to make proteins in your body. Remember, proteins are the building blocks of life. They make up your skin, hair, nails. So your RNA uses your DNA to help make proteins. I hope this was a helpful video. This has been a bit of biology with Mr. Rock. I'm signing off.